Hello friends, welcome to my channel Rio. The miraculous life of Lahiri Mahasaya, Christlike Living. The eternal bond of Guru and disciple that existed between John and Jesus was also present in Babaji and Lahiri Mahasaya. It was not until the disciple had reached his 33rd year that Babaji deemed the time to be ripe to openly re-establish the never separated link. Then, after their brief meeting near Ranikhet, the selfless master banished his dearly beloved disciple from the little mountain group, releasing him for an outward world mission. My son, I shall come whenever you need me. Unknown to society in general, a great reawakening of spiritual interests began to flow from a remote corner of Banaras. Just as the fragrance of flowers cannot be suppressed, so Lahiri Mahasaya, quietly living as an idle householder, could not hide his innate glory. Slowly, from every part of India, the devotee bees sought the divine nectar of the liberated master. The English office superintendent was one of the first to notice a strange transcendental change in his employee, whom he endearingly called Ecstatic Babu. "Sir, you seem sad. What is the trouble?" Lahiri Mahasaya made this sympathetic inquiry one morning to his employer. "My wife in England is critically ill. I am torn by anxiety," Lahiri Mahasaya said. "I shall get you some word about her." Lahiri Mahasaya left the room and sat for a short time in a secluded spot. On his return, he smiled consolingly. "Your wife is improving. She is now writing you a letter." The omniscient yogi quoted some parts of the long letter. "Ecstatic Babu, I already know that you are no ordinary man. Yet, I am unable to believe that at will you can banish time and space." The promised letter finally arrived. The astounded superintendent found that it contained not only the good news of his wife's recovery, but also the same phrases which weeks earlier Lahiri Mahasaya had repeated. The wife came to India some months later. She visited the office where Lahiri Mahasaya was quietly sitting at his desk. The women approached him reverently. "Sir," she said, "it was your form hallowed in glorious light that I beheld months ago by my sick bed in London. At that moment I was completely healed. Soon after I was able to undertake the long ocean voyage to India. Day after day, one or two devotees besought the Sublime Guru for kriya initiation. In addition to these spiritual duties and to those of his business and family life, the great master took an enthusiastic interest in education. He organized many study groups and played an active part in the growth of large high school in Bengali Tola section of Banaras. His regular discourses on scriptures came to be called his Gita Assembly, eagerly attended by many truth seekers. By these manifold activities, Lahiri Mahasaya sought to answer the common challenge. After performing one's business and social activities, where is the time for devotional meditation? The harmoniously balanced life of the great householder Guru became the silent inspiration of thousands of questioning hearts. Earning only a modest salary, thrifty, accessible to all, the master carried on naturally and happily in the path of worldly life. A significant feature of Lahiri Mahasaya's life was his gift of kriya initiation to those of every faith. Not only Hindus but Muslims and Christians were among his foremost disciples. Monists and dualists, those of all faiths or of no established faith, were impartially received and instructed by the universal Guru. One of his highly advanced chelas was Abdul Ghafoor Khan, a Mohammedan. It shows great courage on the part of Lahiri Mahasaya. Although a high caste Brahmin, he tried his utmost to dissolve the rigid caste bigotry of his time. Those from every walk of life found shelter on the Master's omnipresent wings. Like all God-inspired prophets, Lahiri Mahasaya gave new hope to all the outcasts and downtrodden of the society. Though established himself in the seat of Supreme One, Lahiri Mahasaya showed reverence to all men, irrespective of their with differing merits. When his devotees saluted him, he bowed in turn to them. With a childlike humility, the master often touched the feet of others, but seldom allowed them to pay him similar honor, even though such obeisance towards the Guru is an ancient Oriental custom. Always remember that you belong to no one and no one belongs to you. Reflect that someday you will suddenly have to leave everything in this world, so make the acquaintanceship of God now. The great Guru told his disciples, prepare yourself for the coming astral journey of death by daily riding in the balloon of God perception. Through delusion, you are perceiving yourself as a bundle of flesh and bones, which at the best is the nest of troubles. Meditate unceasingly, that you may quickly behold yourself as the infinite essence, free from every form of misery. Cease being a prisoner of the body, using the key of kriya. Learn to escape into the spirit. The great Guru encouraged his various students to adhere to the good traditional discipline of their own faith, stressing the all-inclusive nature of kriya as a practical technique of liberation. Lahiri Mahasaya then gave his chelas liberty to express their lives in conformance with environment and upbringing. With wise discernment, the Guru guided his followers into the paths of bhakti, karma, jnana or raja yogas according to each man's natural tendencies. The master, who was slow to give his permission to devotees wishing to enter the formal path of monkhood, always cautioned them to first reflect well on the austerities of the monastic life. The great Guru taught his disciples to avoid the theoretical discussion of the scriptures. He only is wise who devotes himself to realizing, not reading only the ancient revelations. He said, solve all your problems through meditation. Exchange unprofitable religious speculations for actual God contact. Clear your mind of dogmatic theological debris. Let in the fresh healing waters of direct perception. Attune yourself to the active inner guidance. The divine voice has the answer to every dilemma of your life. Though man's ingenuity for getting himself into the trouble appears to be endless, the infinite succor is no less resourceful. I am ever with those who practice kriya, he said consolingly to chelas who would not remain near him. I will guide you to the cosmic home through your enlarging perceptions. The distant disciples of Lahiri Mahasaya were often made aware of his enfolding presence. Swami Satyananda was told by a devotee that, unable to go to Benares, the man had nevertheless received precise kriya initiation in a dream. Lahiri Mahasaya had appeared to instruct the chela in answers to his prayers. If a disciple neglected any of his worldly obligations, the master would gently correct and discipline him. Lahiri Mahasaya's words were mild and healing. Even when he was forced to speak openly of chela's faults, Sri Yukteswar once told Paramahansa Yogananda, he added ruefully, no disciple ever fled from our master's barbs. I would not help laughing, but I truthfully assured Sri Yukteswar that sharp or not, his every word was music to my ears. Lahiri Mahasaya carefully graded kriya into 4 progressive initiations. He bestowed the 3 higher techniques only after the devotee had manifested definite spiritual progress. One day, a certain chela, convinced that his worth was not being duly evaluated, gave voice to his discontent. Master, he said, surely I am ready now for the second initiation. At this moment, the door opened to admit a humble disciple, Brinda Bhagat. He was Benares postman. Brinda, sit by me here. The great Guru smiled at him affectionately. Tell me, are you ready for the second technique of kriya? The little postman folded his hands in supplication. Gurudeva, he said in alarm, no more initiations, please. How can I assimilate any higher teachings? I have come today to ask your blessings because the first divine kriya has filled me with such intoxication that I cannot deliver my letters. Already Brinda swims in the sea of spirit. At these words from Lahiri Mahasaya, his other disciple hung his head. Master, he said, I see I have been a poor workman, finding fault in my tools. The postman, who was an uneducated man, later developed his insight through kriya to such an extent that scholars occasionally sought his interpretation on involved scriptural points. Innocent alike of sin and syntax, little Brinda won renowned in the domain of learned pandits. Besides the numerous Benares disciples of Lahiri Mahasaya, hundreds came to him from distant parts of India. He himself travelled to Bengal on several occasions, visiting at the homes of the father-in-law of his two sons. Thus, blessed by his presence, Bengal became honeycomb with some kriya groups, particularly in the districts of Krishnanagar and Bishnupur. Many silent devotees to this day have kept the invisible current of spiritual meditation flowing. A number of Lahiri Mahasaya's disciples with influential worldly positions were desirous of expanding the Kriya circle by publicity, but Guru refused his permission. One Chela, the royal physician of the Lord of Benares, started an organized effort to spread the master's name as Kashi Baba, exalted one of Benares. Again the Guru forbade it. Let the fragrance of the Kriya flower be wafted naturally, without any display, he said. Its seeds will take root in the soil of spiritually fertile hearts. He knew that the power of his message would rise like a restless flood, inundating by its own force the banks of human minds. The changed and purified lives of devotees were the simple guarantees of the deathless vitality of Kriya. In 1886, 25 years after his Raniket initiation, Lahiri Mahasaya was retired on pension. With his availability in the daytime, disciples sought him out in ever-increasing numbers. The great Guru now sat in silence most of the time, locked in the tranquil lotus posture. He seldom left his little parlor, even for a walk or to visit other parts of the house. A quiet stream of chelas arrived almost ceaselessly for a darshan of the Guru. No visitors departed without upliftment of spirit. All knew they had received the silent blessing of the true man of God. In accordance with ancient custom, the master gave to people in general a neem oil for the cure of various diseases. When the Guru requested a disciple to distill the oil, he could easily accomplish the task. If anyone else tried, he would encounter strange difficulties, finding that the medicinal oil had almost evaporated after going through the required distillation processes. Evidently, the master's blessing was a necessary ingredient. Our eagerness for worldly activity kills in us the sense of spiritual awe. We cannot comprehend the great life behind all names and forms. Just because science brings home to us how we can use the powers of nature. This familiarity has bred a contempt for her ultimate secrets. Our relation with nature is one of the practical business. We tease her, so to speak, to know how she can be used to serve our purposes. We make use of her energies, whose source yet remains unknown. In science, our relation with nature is one that exists between a man and his servant, or in philosophical sense, she is like a captive in the witness box. We cross-examine her, challenge her, and minutely weigh her evidence in human scales, which cannot measure her hidden values. On the other hand, when the self is in communion with the higher power, nature automatically obeys, without any stress or strain, the will of man. This effortless command over nature is called miraculous by the uncomprehending materialist. The life of Lahiri Mahasaya set an example which changed the enormous notion that yoga is a mysterious practice. Every man may find a way through kriya to understand his proper relation with nature and to feel spiritual reverence for all the phenomena, whether mystical or of everyday occurrence, in spite of the matter of factness of physical science. We must bear in mind that what was mystical 1,000 years ago is no longer so, and what is mysterious now may become lawfully intelligible 100 years from now. It is the infinite, the ocean of power that is at the back of all manifestations. The law of kriya yoga is eternal. It is true like mathematics. Like simple rules of addition and subtraction cannot be changed, the law of kriya can never be destroyed. Burn to ashes all the books on mathematics, the logical mind will always rediscover such truths. Destroy all the sacred books on the yoga, its fundamental laws will come out whenever there appears a true yogi who comprises within himself pure devotion and consequently pure knowledge. Just as Babaji is among the greatest of avatars, a Maha Avatar, and Sri Yukteswar, a Jnana Avatar or incarnation of wisdom, so Lahiri Mahasaya may justly be called Yogavatar or incarnation of yoga. By the standards of both qualitative and quantitative good, he elevated the spirit level of society in his power to raise his close disciples to Christ-like stature and in his wide dissemination of truth among the masses. Lahiri Mahasaya ranks among the saviors of mankind. Divine union, the Yogavatara proclaimed, is possible through self-effort and is not dependent on theological beliefs or the arbitrary will of cosmic director. Lahiri's uniqueness as a prophet lies in his practical stress on definite method of kriya, opening for the first time the doors of yoga freedom to all men. Apart from the miracles of his own life, surely the Yogavatar reached the zenith of all wonders in reducing the ancient complexities of yoga to an effective simplicity not beyond the ordinary grasp. Through use of the kriya key, persons who cannot bring themselves to believe in the divinity of any man will behold at last the full divinity of their own selves.